Edgar Allan Poe now attended West Point Military Academy in order to impress his father. Sergeant.
Yes?
What do we do?
Just go do some drills or something. I'm busy.
Okay. After West Point Military Academy, Poe decided that it was high time that he moved in with his aunt, who was also with his cousin Virginia Clem, 13 years old. Yes, I said cousin, and this is also the woman that he married. Here is seen their wedding. Virginia died of tuberculosis.
Inspired by the death of his little wife and his father, little Poe began to put his pen to the paper, and they began to blend like smokes and pancakes. Poe was then induced to alcoholism.
Foul wretch! Thou art evil! Spawn of malicious intentions! Thou wast done!
And every year after Poe's death, a mysterious man known as the Poe Toaster visited his grave. He would follow the crickety steps down the winding staircase of unending to the decrepit, dilapidated grave known as Edgar Allan Poe. And he would leave an offering of leaves, if you can follow the inside joke. And then he would leave.
Rest in peace, Pete.
And his last appearance was on the birth date of Poe's bicentennial. The Red Death had long devastated the country. No pestilence had ever been so fatal or so hideous. Blood was its avatar and its seal, the redness and the horror of blood. There were sharp pains and sudden dizziness and the profuse bleeding at the pores with dissolution. The scarlet stains upon the body, and especially upon the face of the victim, were the pest ban which shut him out from the aid and from the sympathy of his fellow men. And the whole seizure, progress, and termination of the disease were the incidents of half an hour. But Prince Prospero was happy and dauntless and sagacious. When his dominions were half depopulated, he summoned to his presence 1,000 hale and light-hearted friends from among the knights and dames of his court. And with these retired and sleep the seclusion of one of his castellated abbeys. This was an extensive and magnificent structure, the creation of the prince's own eccentric yet august taste. And it was toward the end of the 5th or 6th month of his seclusion, and while the pestilence raged most furiously abroad, that the Prince Prospero entertained his 1,000 friends at a masked ball of the most unusual significance. And it was in this apartment also that there stood against the western wall a gigantic clock of ebony. Its pendulum swung to and fro with a dull, heavy, monotonous clang, and when the minute hand made the circuit of the face and the hour was to be stricken, there came from the brazen lungs of the clock a sound which was clear and loud and deep and exceedingly musical, but of so peculiar a note and emphasis that, at the lapse of an hour, the musicians of orchestra were constrained to pause momentarily in their performance to hearken to the sound, and thus the waltzers perforce ceased their evolutions. And there was a brief disconcert of the whole gay company. And, while the chimes of the clock yet rang, it was observed that the giddiest grew pale, and the more aged and sedate passed their hands over their brows as if in confused reverie or meditation. But when the echoes had fully ceased, a light laughter at once pervaded the assembly. The musicians looked at each other as if lost my place. I'm not starting this over, you people are bearing with me. And whispering vows each to each other that made the next chiming of the clock should produce in them no similar emotion. And then, at the lapse of 60 minutes, which embrace 3,600 seconds of the time that flies, there was yet another chiming of the clock. And then with a disconcerting tremulousness and meditation as before. But in spite of these things, it was a gay and magnificent revel.
What's up? It's like everyone dance? Not really. Not together, just.
Yeah, sure.
Who dares? Who dares insult us with this blasphemous mockery? Seize him and unmask him, that we may know whom we have to hang at sunrise from the battlements.
And the darkness and the decay and the Red Death held a little dominion over all.